There is an emotion so dangerous, so corrosive, that it can destroy a friendship, a relationship, or a family from the inside out, without anyone ever saying a single word about it. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up in arguments or confrontations. It hides behind smiles, hollow support, and carefully chosen silence. It is called hidden resentment, and it is one of the most underestimated forces in all of human psychology. Today we're going inside it. What it is, why people hide it, how it grows, how it destroys, and most importantly, how to spot it before it's too late. Welcome to Hidden Motives. Let's begin. Section 1. What is hidden resentment? Most people understand anger. Anger is visible, loud, confrontational. It announces itself and then it passes. Resentment is different. Resentment is anger that never got expressed. It's the feeling that builds quietly when someone believes they've been wronged, overlooked, taken advantage of, but never said anything about it. Psychologists describe resentment as a complex emotion, a mixture of anger, disappointment, and a deep sense of injustice. It lives beneath the surface, and unlike anger, it doesn't pass, it accumulates. Every small slight that goes unaddressed adds another layer. Every time someone swallows their frustration instead of expressing it, the resentment grows deeper, darker, and more dangerous. The word itself comes from the Latin resentire, meaning to feel again. That's exactly what resentment does. It makes you feel the original wound over and over again, keeping it alive long after the moment has passed. And here's what makes hidden resentment particularly destructive. The person carrying it often doesn't even fully understand what they're feeling. They just know something has shifted. Something feels wrong, and they can't or won't say why. Section 2. Why people hide it if resentment is so destructive. Why do people hide it instead of addressing it? The answer lies in psychology, social conditioning, and fear. Fear of conflict. Most people are deeply uncomfortable with direct confrontation. Expressing resentment means admitting you were hurt, and that vulnerability feels dangerous to many people. It's easier to smile and suppress than to risk the discomfort of an honest conversation. The need to appear unbothered. There's a social pressure, particularly in close relationships, to appear easygoing, to not be too sensitive. People hide resentment because admitting it feels like admitting weakness, uncertainty about their own feelings. Sometimes people don't even know they resent someone. The feeling is buried so deep beneath politeness and routine that it only surfaces in small, almost invisible ways. A clipped response here, a withdrawn gesture there. Power dynamics. In relationships where one person holds more power, whether financial, social, or emotional, the less powerful person may feel they have no safe space to express their true feelings. So they don't. They bury it, and it festers. The longer resentment stays hidden, the more toxic it becomes. What started as a small frustration can grow into something that permanently changes how one person sees another. Section 3. How hidden resentment grows. Resentment rarely starts big. It almost always begins with something small. A favor that was never returned. A moment where someone felt overlooked. A comment that landed wrong. A pattern of behavior that made someone feel consistently undervalued. On its own, Any one of these things is manageable, forgettable even. But when they're never addressed, they stack. Each new slight lands on top of the last, and over time, the weight becomes enormous. Psychologists call this emotional debt accumulation. The resentful person keeps an internal ledger, conscious or not, of every perceived wrong. And that ledger never gets cleared because the issue is never discussed. What makes this particularly insidious is the way it changes perception over time. Once resentment takes root, everything the other person does gets filtered through it. A simple comment becomes a slight. A missed call becomes evidence of neglect. An innocent joke becomes proof of disrespect. The resentful person isn't being irrational. From inside their experience, the pattern is real. But the other person has no idea any of this is happening. They're operating as if everything is fine, while the relationship quietly deteriorates beneath the surface. And then, one day, quack, something small triggers an explosion, and nobody understands why. Because nobody could see the mountain that had been building for months or years. Section 4. The signs. This is what you came for. How do you actually spot hidden resentment in someone else or even in yourself? Sign 1. They downplay your wins. When good things happen to you, their reaction feels flat. The congratulations are brief. The enthusiasm is forced. They move past your success quickly because celebrating you genuinely is something they can no longer do comfortably. Sign 2. Backhanded compliments. That's impressive for someone like you. I didn't think you'd actually pull that off. These aren't accidental. They're the resentment leaking through a socially acceptable filter. Sign 3. Passive aggression. Instead of direct communication, they communicate through subtle digs, sarcasm, and withdrawal. They won't say what's wrong, but they'll make sure you feel it. Sign 4. They're oddly quiet during your highs. Notice who goes silent when you succeed. Genuine supporters get louder. Resentful people get quieter. They disengage. They find somewhere else to be. Sign 5. Relief when you fail. This is the most telling sign of all. Watch the eyes. Watch the energy. When something goes wrong for you, do they rush in with genuine concern? Or is there a flash of something else? Something that looks almost like relief. Sign 6. They remember everything. Resentful people have extraordinary memories for your failures, your mistakes, and your inconsistencies. They may not bring them up directly, but they store them, and they surface at the most strategic moments. Sign 7. The relationship feels one-sided. You reach out more. You invest more. You give more. Because on some level you can feel the distance, even if you can't name it, and you're unconsciously trying to close a gap that keeps growing wider. Section 5. How it destroys relationships. Hidden resentment doesn't kill relationships quickly. It kills them slowly, and that's what makes it so devastating. The person being resented often has no idea anything is wrong until the damage is already done. The relationship has been quietly hollowing out for months, sometimes years, while on the surface, everything appeared fine. Trust erodes first. Even without knowing why, you begin to feel like you can't fully rely on this person. Something feels off. Your instincts are picking up signals your conscious mind hasn't processed yet. Then intimacy disappears. The conversations get shallower. The shared moments get fewer. The connection that once felt natural now requires effort, and even the effort starts to feel pointless. Eventually, one of two things happens. Either the resentment explodes, triggered by something seemingly minor that was actually the final straw of a much longer story, or it quietly fades, the relationship simply dissolving as the resentful person withdraws further and further until one day they're simply gone. Both endings are painful, and both were almost entirely preventable, if the resentment had been addressed when it was still small. Section 6. How to protect yourself, whether you're carrying resentment or you suspect someone resents you. There are steps you can take. If you're carrying resentment, acknowledge it first. Name it. The moment you can say, "I resent this person because of this specific thing," you've taken the first step toward releasing it. Unspoken resentment has enormous power. Named resentment begins to lose it. Then make a decision. Either address it directly, have the honest conversation even if it's uncomfortable, or consciously choose to release it. What you cannot do, healthily, is continue to carry it silently. If you suspect someone resents you, don't ignore the signals. Create space for honest conversation. Sometimes simply asking, "Is there something between us that we haven't talked about?" opens a door that both people needed, and if they're unwilling to engage, that tells you something important too. Protect your energy. Not every relationship can be saved. Some people have held on to resentment for so long that it has become part of their identity in that relationship. In those cases, distance is not a failure, it's wisdom. Hidden resentment is one of the quietest and most destructive forces in human relationships. It moves in silence, it builds in darkness, and by the time most people recognize it, the damage is already deep. But awareness is the antidote. The ability to see what others miss, to read the signals beneath the surface, is the foundation of everything we explore here at Hidden Motives. If this video opened your eyes, subscribe, because we're just getting started. Subscribe to Hidden Motives. See beyond appearances.